Full-screen animated radar, a chaotic, multi-cell storm complex erupting across the central and eastern United States. Large text overlay flashes, unpredictable severe weather pattern, day after day risk. A highly volatile and unpredictable severe weather pattern is taking hold across the United States right now. Over the next several days, millions of people will be at risk for damaging winds, giant hail, and a few tornadoes. The locations and threats will shift dramatically from one day to the next. This is the kind of setup that can catch entire communities off guard. By second 12, text overlay enlarges, multi-day threat, hard to pinpoint. Quick cut to a color-coded danger zone map, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic all pulsing in yellow and orange. Sharp, urgent beep. Forecasting severe weather in this pattern will be extremely difficult. We are not looking at a classic widespread outbreak, but we are looking at daily threats that demand your attention. The weather is about to change a lot, and we need to start with the jet stream. A large deep over the Rockies is keeping an upper-level storm system parked to our west. That deep is pulling a tremendous amount of moisture out of the Pacific Ocean. This will feed widespread showers and thunderstorms across much of the country over the coming days. However, this jet stream pattern is not working with particularly favorable instability and wind shear. So a major tornado outbreak does not look likely from today through Friday. Even so, we still have a southwesterly flow across the Ohio Valley, the Mississippi River Valley, and the southern plains. That will be enough to produce some level of severe storms. Damaging winds and large hail will be possible with a few storms, and there could even be a low tornado risk on certain days. We are entering a period defined by what we call mesoscale severe weather days. These are days where significant severe weather can happen, but it is very hard to pin down more than a day or two in advance. It is not the kind of setup that produces a 12-state outbreak. What it does mean is that any given day could turn dangerous in a localized area. We have to stay on our toes. By Saturday and Sunday, the jet stream will become weaker and more disorganized. That should promote a somewhat quieter pattern to start next week. On Monday, a high-pressure system will attempt to build across the Great Plains. That will help settle things down a little. But my bigger concern is the very end of May. Many models are hinting at a much stronger storm system ejecting into the Rockies around the end of next week. That is about 8 to 9 days away, but it could bring a more organized, widespread threat of severe weather. For now, though, let's focus on the next 3 days. Beginning with today, we have a marginal risk of severe weather stretching from southern New England into Kentucky. There is also a slight risk in far western Texas. The main concern today for the Mid-Atlantic will be isolated damaging wind gusts. Some large to very large hail will be possible later this afternoon, especially south of Lubbock. The tornado risk looks very low. But if you are in that area, the storm structures could still be impressive. On Thursday, the severe weather risk shrinks considerably. We have just a tiny marginal risk southeast of Denver. In that environment, a low chance of an isolated tornado does exist. Otherwise, the main threats will be isolated large hail and damaging winds. Then comes Friday. Our threat area shifts a little to the east, with a slight risk in place for Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma. A marginal threat includes Abilene and Oklahoma City. Damaging winds, large hail, and an isolated tornado will all be possible there. Now let's walk through the timing over the next 3 days. This afternoon, numerous popcorn thunderstorms will pop across Dixie Alley. In the Mid-Atlantic, scattered severe storms will be capable of damaging winds and isolated large hail. Storms will be moving at 30 to 40 miles per hour to the east. A few of those storms could actually be left moving supercells. That could throw a little twist into your forecast if you live in West Virginia or Kentucky. By this evening, most of that activity will weaken. But overall, we are looking at about 70% storm coverage across the mid-Atlantic today. Back in Texas and the southern plains, storms will fire between 2 and 4 p.m., mainly south of Odessa. The primary risk there will be very large hail and damaging winds. I would not rule out an isolated tornado, but I do think that risk is pretty low. On Thursday, we kind of repeat the pattern. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will rumble across the Ohio Valley and the southeast. The main risks will be gusty winds, small hail, and plenty of lightning. This is more like typical summertime thunderstorm activity. Down in the southern plains, it will be a bit messier. Dallas-Fort Worth back through Abilene could see pop-up afternoon storms. Isolated damaging winds and hail are possible. I would not be surprised if a marginal risk gets added near Abilene later. The more concentrated severe weather on Thursday will actually be in southeastern Colorado. Fairly rural areas will deal with damaging winds and large hail. If the storms do not upscale too fast, there could be a tornado with that environment. There will be a bit more local wind shear at play. By Thursday evening and overnight, that area of thunderstorms will weaken as it approaches Dodge City, Kansas. Friday will be another pretty stormy day across the southeast. More thunderstorms will be capable of gusty winds, cloud-to-ground lightning, and small hail. I would not rule out an isolated severe weather risk in the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley. The overall risk there is low, but not zero. During the evening hours, we will also be watching for supercells to try to develop in the Texas Panhandle. These will be pretty discreet. I think the tornado risk in that area Friday will be near zero due to a lack of moisture. But over in Kansas and Nebraska, clusters of thunderstorms could bring a marginal damaging wind threat. So do not be caught off guard if you have outdoor plans Friday in Kansas or Nebraska. By Saturday morning, things finally begin to quiet down a little. But Saturday will still be a pretty stormy day across the country. The good news is that nothing looks too organized. A major tornado outbreak is not expected in the foreseeable future. The storm system that brings scattered storms to the southeast on Friday will shift into the Ohio Valley on Saturday. That will keep thunderstorm activity going from Texas all the way to the East Coast. There will be plenty of moisture and some instability, but we will lack the strong wind shear for tornadoes. Sunday looks very similar, with storms mainly focused across the southeast. And honestly, the southeast desperately needs this rain. It is definitely some welcome news for those drought-stricken areas. By Monday, things will get somewhat quieter across the Great Plains and Midwest. By Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, the troughing pattern kicks back in. An upper-level low will begin to develop. How significant the severe weather becomes by the middle and end of next week is still very questionable. But I am anticipating at least some level of severe weather returning by Thursday and Friday. That activity could spread across the central and northern plains and into the Midwest. Going into June, it is still too early to know. We need to get through the next 10 days first. Now I want to share some really good news. There is a lot of rain coming to areas that desperately need it. Over the next 8 days, Florida and the Southeast will see plenty of beneficial rainfall. Houston is forecast to get somewhere around 4 to 7 inches. New Orleans could see similar totals. Even Atlanta and Charleston are looking at a half inch to a couple of inches of rain. We will gladly take it, especially where the drought is still significant. Unfortunately, the West Coast will remain dry, and fire weather could stay elevated in Western California. We are nearing the end of May, and temperatures across the upper Midwest are incredibly cool. This morning, lows dipped into the 30s and 40s. That is one of the main reasons we are not seeing widespread severe weather right now. The air is just too stable across much of the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Even tomorrow morning, we are looking at 40s and 50s. Enjoy the nice weather while it is here, especially in the far northern tier of the country. By Friday and Saturday, temperatures will gradually start to increase. But Minneapolis, for example, will only see a high in the low to mid-60s on Saturday. Things will really start to warm up again next week. When we get these surges of warm air out of the Gulf, it often leads to higher-end severe weather events returning. Minneapolis and Fargo could be right back into the 80s by the middle of next week. That is something we will be watching closely. Right now, temperature anomalies across the country are staggering. We are running 15 to 20 degrees below average for most of the Great Plains this morning. This afternoon, cities like Kansas City and St. Louis will be 20 to 25 degrees below normal. Nearly the entire country will be below normal again tomorrow. That is a massive departure from average. But by next week, things will flip again, warming back up for the Plains and East Coast. The West Coast, however, will see a bit of a cool down, especially near Seattle and Portland. Here is the bottom line. We are entering a period of highly unpredictable severe weather. There is no single massive outbreak expected, but daily localized threats will be with us from now through the weekend. Stay aware, have multiple ways to get warnings, and check